Thank you all for coming today, and thank you for making this a great event. And I am just so grateful to all of the presenters, all of the sponsors, and just everyone who came in general. With that, I'd like to begin closing our program by inviting up Katie Allen, Rabbi Katie Allen. She is the founder of JCAN, one of the co-founders of JCAN, as well as the founder and rabbi of my Antarctica, a wellspring of hope. And her poetry, so in addition to being a fantastic rabbi and activist and organizer, also a poet, polymath. Her poetry has appeared in New Verse News and the Jewish Poets Collective, and her poetic book, The Tree of Life, A Story in Word, Image, and Text. So with that, I turn it over to you.
We go with the flow. Don't want to hold it because they kind of hold this. I can use that to put my thing on? Oh, you're a magician. Oh. Hey everyone, thank you for being here at this amazing conference. And I'm delighted to share a few poems with you now. So the first one is called In a Season of Browns. Out of the car and into the woods, walking a snowless early winter trail. So many browns beneath the feet. Chestnut, umber, chocolate, tan, of soil and fallen leaves and trees, fresh or decaying, home to hidden life, bugs and worms and other crawly creatures, yet beside the feet and above, also greens of pine and hemlock, even now grasping their cones of terracotta or cacao, and surprisingly, ferns holding on to their summer hue alongside the wintergreen princess pine, not a pine at all, but undeservedly named club moss. Then rounding the corner, coming upon a meandering stream, water under cloudy winter sky, not blue at all, but brown so deep it's almost black. Espresso perhaps, or charcoal. Then suddenly, without warning, beside a tree, solid, gray, but no, or brown, baby mocha or shiitake. Entering Kodesh HaKodeshim, the Holy of Holies. Perhaps not yesterday, but definitely today, right now. Recognizable, for within that space, the rising up of a deep yearning, satiated only by the unbidden urge to embrace, holding the tree tight, connecting, wanting never to let go. The first slide, please. This is a bit of an interactive poem. I've been experimenting a little bit with some visual poetry. So I invite you, after each question, to consider the question, and the title of this poem is appropriately Questions. What are you doing here? Who are you? Where are you going? Which way will you go? Whose decision is it? Do you ever wonder, will that ever change? Can you be certain? Should you really care? Is this enough? When will everything be clear? How do you know? Are you sure? The following poem was inspired within me one day when I was sitting and watching my grandchildren at play outdoors. It's called Complexity. Sitting by a stream enveloped in subtle autumn beauty, feeling solid ground beneath, breathing invisible life-giving air, awareness awakens. Verdant summertime leaves conceal yellows and oranges, reds, maroons, and complexity beyond measure. Introduced species, small and large, exotic flora and fauna suppress more delicate categories of many hues, small and large, and complexity beyond measure. Death, demolition, destruction, hide and inflame grief and fear, despair, desolation, and complexity beyond measure. Rising seas and rampaging wildfires, screaming winds and persistent drought overshadow and obliterate connection to earthy soil and solid rock, iron core of earth, and complexity beyond measure. Sitting by a stream, watching beloved children at play, quietly, unexpectedly, touching grief, beyond words, beyond comprehension, beyond endurance, that simmers steadily in the silent, static, and active living earth, in the expansive and tortured human realms, and in the deepest, most hidden, most vulnerable recesses of the soul. Complexity beyond measure. And I'll share one more. Called Consider the Dream. The human spirit is a wondrous thing, simple, overflowing, pure, and generous. The human spirit hints at Gan Eden, primeval garden of paradise. It invites dreams of Olam Haba, sublime oasis of the hereafter. The human spirit is paradoxical, gentle but fierce, quiet yet strong, still yet moving. And yet, how to trust in such fullness of possibility when a neighbor or stranger, a friend or enemy, a loved one, hurls hurtful words that pierce all protection. How to trust in goodness and curiosity when news of killing, wounding, mutilating, starving, corrupting overflows the airwaves, pierces all protection. How to trust in generosity and openness when hatred and anger Jealousy, greed, and enmity seep into daily encounters between friends and neighbors, co-workers, siblings, between children and parents. How to trust in kindness when all that can be heard is yelling, cursing, humiliating, wailing. How to live, how to trust in living and thriving when demons within provoke overwhelming despair, depression, grief, and self-contempt. And then the sun rises again in the morning, the moon once more cycles across the sky, and a question arises. Is there a choice? Is there any other option than to trust? Not in on-the-ground reality, but in the dream, in the vision and the promise for a more perfect future, a time of peace and harmony, generosity and kindness, curiosity and gentleness, and to endeavor each and every day to engage in small acts of courage and bravery, seeking to make the dream a reality, and in the process, making it possible to continue with life, even when not believing in the dream, thereby reimagining the dream and creating a new vision, a believable and realistic imagining that gives life renewed meaning and restores the ability to trust. The human spirit is a wondrous thing. Thank you.
Not going anywhere. That. Yours.
Oh, okay. Whoa.
Nice.
Hi, Katie. I've known you 10 years now.
2015.
Yes. I found out about the conference a day before it happened, and I said, I just moved here from California, and I have to meet this rabbi. I have to come to this JCAN conference because it has everything that I need, Judaism and climate activism. So I showed up, and I've been friends with you for 10 years since then. And you have led us into this incredible event here through so much activism and spiritual resilience and advocacy, always leading us forward. And we have a small gift for you with gratitude. Thank you so much for your leadership and your visions.
Thank you.
This is from all of us.
Gosh,
No hay problema.
what?
No hay problema.
I was gonna say, I think they wanted me to say something at the end, but I think I probably said enough. But one of the things I was thinking about was, what am I gonna say? I'm gonna say, well, thanks for putting on an awesome conference. And it's like, well, I haven't seen it yet, so how can I say that? And I'm like, well, I know you're gonna put on an awesome conference. And you did, and it's amazing, great stuff happening here today. So thank you guys, and thank you guys for keeping, all of you who kept the torch of JCAN going since I've stepped back. It's really, really warms my heart, and thank you so much. This is so kind.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, Melissa. I'm Rabbi Arthur Waskow. I find that a lot of people get really moved by thinking of the ancient name of God, Yud-He-Vav-He, which you can pronounce, but only by breathing. What the trees and the other bushes and vegetation breathe out, we humans and all animals breathe in. They breathe out oxygen. We breathe in the oxygen and turn it into carbon dioxide. We breathe out the carbon dioxide, and the plant world breathes in carbon dioxide. We are engaged in a gigantic breathing relationship. And that name, which tries to point us in the direction of the breath of life, connecting us with each other and with a sense of the holiness and the ultimate unity of the breath of life. So, what we call the climate crisis, of course, is a climate crisis, but it's also a crisis in the very name, the YHWH name of God. All of living life on earth partakes of God, is part of the image of God, which is mentioned in the book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 26, which says, we and our. The only time this Echad committed community of the God wrestlers of Yisrael, God wrestlers, the only time it suggests a plural. And I think the point is that ecologically, a plural can be shaped into a unity. Even the American government's ultimate slogan, not that anybody has noticed for a long time, a pluribus unum, Latin for from the many, one. It wasn't just about states, 13 of them getting together. It probably was about that too. But it was also about the ultimate sense that by honoring, respecting clusters, ecological clusters of species, ecological clusters in our own bodies, hierarchy. Every once in a while, somebody decides, I'm going to make everybody like me, and they better take orders from me while I'm doing it. That's the kind of government we have right now. But that kind of government doesn't last because it's not rooted in truth. The truth is that from the many come one, and the many and the one are simultaneously both truthful and real and practical and mystical, all those at once. I welcome you to a conference that takes seriously the image of God in all living beings, not just human beings, and that says we're in a crisis of that ultimate breath that keeps us all alive. You have gathered, thank God, and I mean thank God, you have gathered to affirm the image of God in animals, including humans, and in plants, including all of them. And I welcome you to dealing with that with action that can enrich our understanding, our commitment to the ecological truth of from many comes the one, from clusters of different beings, all carrying the great spark, the great image of God, comes a world of love, peace. I welcome you to the work you are doing to make that world real. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom. Peace. Aleichem. To you.
We are very grateful that we had Rabbi Waskow provide some remarks for us. I'm going to stand a little further away from the microphone there. So for those who do not know who Arthur Waskow was or is, he's been a leader of the movement for Jewish renewal for many years, transforming Judaism since 1969. He's been arrested about 26 times in protest actions for peace, eco and social justice, and healing for the climate crisis. And I believe he came to the JCAN conference in 2019, and that's a couple days before that. What's that? 2015, okay. And well, I met him a few years later, so it must not have been the JCAN conference that he attended. Okay. And I was very lucky to meet him in person. He came to our congregation. And for those who don't know, he's also famous for writing something called the Freedom Seder Haggadah. And so now I can speak into the microphone. Okay, thank you. And he wrote the Freedom Seder Haggadah somewhere around 1968, 69 or so. And I just happened to remember that, and I had it in my files that my father had given me that. It was an article from, I think it was published in the Atlantic or something. So he came over to our house, and I was able to get him to sign that, and that was a real thrill to have him sign this Haggadah from, well, it's not eons ago, but 50 years before. So that was Rabbi Arthur Waskow, and thank you to everybody who was able to bring him here today.
The next speaker, so to speak, that we have is Elizabeth Warren, Senator Elizabeth Warren. We are incredibly proud as residents of Massachusetts that we have not one, but two very steadfast and zealous advocates, not just for sensible energy policy, but also specifically for environmental justice and what John Watkey referred to as energy democracy. We asked Senator Warren if she could send us a video. We did not think that she would be able to come. She's very busy doing things like protecting democracy, but decided that she did have time to send us a written statement. I have asked my daughter, Samantha, if she can read that, so please come on up here.
Thank you, everyone, and yeah, thank you for having such a great conference. And I'm really just here as a learner with no real skill to offer, but I'm glad to be here to listen to everyone. So thank you, everyone, for the great sessions, and obviously thank you to my mom and to everyone else who organized. Hello, Jewish Climate Action Network of Massachusetts. I'm sorry I can't be there in person with you all today, but I'm so proud of the work that JCAN is doing. Look, things are tough right now. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but I'm inspired by people like you who get up and get in the fight every single day, working together to make change. There's almost too much to keep track of right now. That's on purpose. It can feel like important issues like the climate crisis, are getting buried under the onslaught of breaking news. Donald Trump and his cronies are doing all of this at once to distract us, to scare us, to confuse us. They're hoping we'll give up, curl into a little ball, and let them do whatever they want. But you aren't letting them win. You all are continuing to have the important conversations about the climate crisis, which is a 5-alarm fire. You're staying in the fight. You're working together to get things done. The future we're all fighting for, a healthy planet, an equitable society, depends on that ability to work together. The one thing that gives us the most power is linking elbows. And I'm confident in that power. Why? Because all of you who showed up here today, no matter how hard it's getting, you still left your homes and lives to tune in and fight back. So thank you for showing up and staying in the fight, even when things get tough. I'm honored to be in this fight with each and every one of you.
Probably don't need to introduce Bill McKibben, but I will anyway. He is the founder of Third Act, which organizes people over the age of 60 for action on climate injustice. He helped found 350.org, the first global grassroots climate campaign, which has organized protests on every continent, including Antarctica, for climate action. He played a leading role in launching the opposition to big oil pipeline projects like Keystone XL and the fossil fuel divestment campaign. He couldn't be here with us today, but he wanted to share his support for our conference.
Well, friends, Bill McKibben here. I very much wish I was with you, partly, I confess, for the vegan kosher lunch, but mostly just to be able to say thank you to all of you for all that you've been doing and are going to do. As you know, you are in a tremendous tradition. I've gotten to watch pretty much from the start the birth of the Jewish climate movement back to Shomer Adamah in the 1980s, and great leaders like Steve Shaw, JTS, and on through Kojol, and I get to be on the board now of Dayenu, and on and on and on. It's a very rich and important tradition. And it's always been marked by precisely what you're talking about today, collaboration, how we do things together. I thought the most useful thing for me to do with a few minutes was to tell you about what seems to be shaping up as one of the next great adventures for this whole movement, and being led in large part by its faith-based components. And that's this Sunday thing, whose t-shirt I'm wearing. We actually officially launched it in Boston at Old North Church with the representatives of every faith on hand about 3 weeks ago, when Boston's wonderful Mayor Wu lit a green lamp in the steeple of the church, and we had a wonderful interfaith service to get things going. The reason we're doing it is because amidst all the, I think, terrible news of the moment, one bad big thing after another happening in our country and our world, we have one very big piece of good news to share that I don't think most people, even in our movement, really quite understood yet. And that's the fact that in the last 24 months or so, we're finally starting to see the explosion of clean, renewable energy around the world that some of us have been rooting for 40 years or more. Finally, the engineers in the first part of this decade drove the price of energy from the sun and the wind and the batteries to store that power when the sun goes down or the wind drops. They drove the price of that below the price of burning coal or gas or oil. We now live on a planet where the cheapest way to produce power is to point a sheet of glass at the sun. That is a truly fundamental change in human possibility. It means, yes, that though it's too late to stop global warming, we now have the one tool that gives us some hope of stopping it short of the place where it just cuts civilization off at the knees. This is the only thing that can scale fast enough to even begin to catch up with the dire physics of climate change. And at the same time, it allows us to stop killing 9 million people a year, 1 death in 5 on this planet that comes from breathing the combustion byproducts of fossil fuel combustion. And it frees us from the various oligarchies, really, that spring up around the fact that we currently depend on a scarce resource only available in a few scattered deposits around the planet. People like the Koch brothers or Vladimir Putin or the King of Saudi Arabia end up with more power than they need or can wisely use. And it's one of the things driving the grotesque inequality that now marks our Earth. So energy from the sun, which includes energy from the wind, the only reason the wind blows is because the sun heats the Earth differentially, creating those breezes that turn the majestic turbines. Energy from the sun is our possibility. And it is starting to happen. On this planet now, we put up a gigawatts worth of solar panels. That's the rough equivalent of a coal-fired or nuclear-fired power plant every 18 hours on average. That's been going on for the last, as I say, about 18 months. This is now the fastest growing energy source in history. Half of that work's being done in China, which is leading the way in every way, but it's spreading elsewhere. Next door to China, in Pakistan last year, just individual people buying cheap solar panels and putting them on the roofs of their homes or factories or stores built the equivalent of half the country's national electric grid in 1 year. In this country, California, which has taken this more seriously than anybody else, they've reached some kind of tipping point. Almost every day now, California produces more than 100% of its power for long stretches of the day from renewable sources, which means that at night, when the sun goes down, the biggest source of supply on the California grid is usually those batteries that have been soaking up excess sunshine all afternoon. And here's the bottom line, and it's the most encouraging statistic I've heard in the 4 decades that I've been at work on this. California this spring is using 44% less natural gas to produce electricity than they did 2 years ago. 44% decline in 2 years. That should give us enormous hope of what we can do if we strike fast now, if we spread that everywhere. We're not the only ones. I'm not the only one, though I've written a book about it. It'll come out this summer. Apologies to George Harrison. It's called Here Comes the Sun. I'm not the only one that knows this. The other people that know it are the fossil fuel industry. You can better believe that if they're selling 44% less natural gas to California, the 4th largest economy on Earth, they've noticed and they're scared. That's why they spent more money on the last election cycle by far than they've ever spent before. And that means that we need, if we're going to keep this momentum going, we need to really demonstrate what we can do. We need to show everybody that this is no longer alternative energy. I think we've gotten used to thinking about solar power and wind power. It's kind of the Whole Foods of energy, you know, nice but pricey. No longer. We're talking Costco of energy, cheap, on the shelf, available in bulk. If we can get that message across, then we should be able to spur the same kind of thing that's happening in California. Because it's not only blue states where we can do this, Texas is now the state putting up the most renewable energy in the whole country. And that means that places like Massachusetts and the Northeast and the Southeast have a great deal of catching up to do. There's a lot of things we need to have happen. We need to make it much easier to permit rooftop solar, to interconnect all the proposed solar farms that are just waiting to go, on and on and on. But what we can do is drive home the idea that this is beautiful, clean, accessible power for everyone, that we can imagine a world where we don't have to set things on fire to power the planet anymore, that we can imagine a world where we rely on the energy from the sun and wind that can't be hoarded. No one's ever going to fight a war over sun and wind. We can imagine a planet where we get our energy from heaven instead of hell. And that's the world that we badly need. So on Sunday, people will be doing all kinds of things. There'll be EV and e-bike parades. There'll be concerts. There'll be people opening their homes to show their heat pumps to their neighbors to let them know how they work, on and on and on. And you guys will start coming up with things. There'll be thousands of events across the country. You can get a sense of feel for it by going to sunday.earth, the beautiful website that we've set up. And the first thing you can do there is use the drawing tools to draw us a sun to complete the logo. You'll see 10,000 or more of these beautiful things already in the global gallery there on the website, and we need you to add your own, and we need you and your congregations to start thinking about what you're going to do that day to, well, to help drive home the news that God was good enough to hang a large ball of burning gas 93 million miles up in the sky, and we now have the wit to make full use of it. That is a beautiful thing, and we need to spread that good news. So I have no doubt that you will follow nobly in the footsteps of all your predecessors in this movement who I have loved working with, and I will so look forward to seeing the pictures from where you all are on Sunday, September 21st, the autumnal equinox sun day. Thanks all.
And our final closing act is the fabulous, multi-talented musician, Robin Yokiko. Yes, that's you. They are, in addition to being a singer, songwriter, guitarist, also a visual artist. They have a fantastic website. I believe it is robinyokiko.com. So I encourage everyone to check that out. But first, please have a listen. Thank you, Robin.
לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה, לא ייסגרו אל גוי הרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה, לא ייסגרו אל גוי הרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה, לא ייסגרו אל גוי הרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה, לא ייסגרו אל גוי הרב, לא ילמדו עוד מלחמה. Thank you for those who sang along. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond desert. And all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. There was a big high wall there that tried to stop me. The sign was painted, said private property, but on the backside it didn't say nothing. This land was made for you and me. When the sun comes shining and I was a-strolling, the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling, a voice come chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. waters. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Say it's me, I'll set you free. 'Cause who am I to speak your mind? How are we to sow the seeds? The land is dry. The only thing we have is time. The only thing we have is time, is time. If it's me, just set me free. 'Cause who am I to read your mind? How will we grow the trees? The land is cold. We cannot grow. We cannot grow. We cannot grow. Ooh. 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 Follow me through barren seas of sand and stone we cannot own. How do we repair the dream? I only know we can't alone. We can't alone. We can't alone. We can't alone. Inchworm, inchworm, measuring the marigolds. You and your arithmetic will probably go far. Inchworm, inchworm, measuring the marigolds. Seems to me you'd stop and see how beautiful they are. Inchworm, inchworm, measuring the marigolds. You and your arithmetic will probably go far. Inchworm, inchworm, measuring the marigolds. You and your arithmetic will probably go far. Two and two are four, four and four are eight. 8 and 8 are 16, 16 and 16 are 32. Inchworm, inchworm, measuring the marigolds. You and your arithmetic will probably go far. Inchworm, inchworm, measuring the marigolds. Seems to me you'd stop and see how beautiful they are. Ah, how beautiful they are. Ooh. Every morning I go to bed without breakfast. Wake up later that day and wonder where the day's gone. Every morning I will go to bed without breakfast and sit around in my shell till there's no daylight left. And underneath her wrinkled sheets, a little girl with atrophy And just beyond her weary feet, the unworn path. Oh, all across the United States, things are moving. People talk and they'll talk, but it's not like they can see. I sit around in my shell, so there's no hell around me. I sit alone in my shell, but there's nothing. Just inside the oyster's grasp, the little girl with atrophy. She's sitting sterile, can't she see the unworn path? Oh, the unworn path. All across so many galaxies, things are moving. People talk and they'll talk, but it's not like they can see. I sit alone in my shell, but there's no telescope to free me. I sit alone in my shell, so there's nothing. And underneath the sunless sky, the little girl with atrophy. She's sitting sterile, can't she see the unworn path? Oh, but underneath that sunless sky, that little girl with atrophy. She'll take a step out on the grass, the unworn path. Oh, the unworn path. Oh, she'll take a step out on the grass. Oh, she'll take a step out on the grass. The unworn path. I see trees of green, red roses too. I see them bloom for me and you. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. I see skies of blue and clouds of white, the dark sacred day and the dark blessed night. Okay, I'm kidding. I know what the day does. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. The colors of the rainbow, so pretty in the sky, are also on the faces of people passing by. I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. And I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Yes, I think to myself, what a wonderful world. What a wonderful world. כל העולם כולו קשר צר מאוד, קשר צר מאוד, קשר צר מאוד. כל העולם כולו קשר צר מאוד, קשר צר מאוד. והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר כלל, כל העולם כולו, כשצר מאוד, כשצר מאוד, כשצר מאוד, כל העולם כולו, כשצר מאוד, כשצר מאוד. והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר, לא לפחד כלל, והעיקר, לא לפחד, לא לפחד כלל,